Somebody save me!
Welcome to Smallville,
Where we got meteor showers and meteor powers.
I'm on the search for Chloe Sullivan and her wall of weird, man.
She's at the torch working on her latest story of the Freak of the Week.
Welcome back, friends and family, to an origin story of sorts.
Lex and Clark?
Josh and Eddie are your hosts for this episode of the Back to the Basics show.
We're talking Smallville. That's season 1 through 10, man.
Before Superman.
There was Clark Kent.
And I'm excited to jump into this episode and tell you guys, like I said, an origin story of sorts.
Oh yeah, do you think if Clark would have told Lex way back then, they would still be friends?
Might be a different type of universe out there, man.
Ooh.
So as we hold on to Smallville, we're diving in to the conversation that's gonna take flight.
Oh, Smallville, always in our hearts. Let's get back to the basics, friends. Welcome to Smallville, brother.
Hey man, I ain't never left.
Where it all started. Where it all begins again, man. For me and you, definitely. Our friendship began with this TV show. And I want to talk a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, man. We started working together, and I remember, I think I've said it before on the show, you know, it was kind of, hey, bro, what'd you do last night?
Yeah.
And we were driving, and you just said, I just binge watched Smallville.
I mentioned my favorite TV show, man.
And it was one of those moments like in a movie, 'cause I was driving.
Yeah.
I just slowly looked over at you like, what the hell did you just say? I've never, only one other time when I was first introduced to Smallville, I've never heard anybody say anything about watching Smallville, man.
No, besides me and my brother, because that was kind of like our thing. I had never really met anyone else who was like into Smallville. There was a lot of people that I personally got into Smallville.
Yeah.
Friends, family, whatever. I would show them the show and be like, look, you like superheroes. Oh, you like that Marvel stuff? Check this out. Mm-hmm. This is the origins of Superman. You got to watch this. And they would get invested, right? But never had I had anybody that I mentioned Smallville to and then be like, holy shit, me too. Like, no, that was
Crazy.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
So I think when that happened, I think automatically it was like, did we just become best friends?
Yeah, seriously. It was a moment definitely where everything clicked and was just like, wow.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy. And to bond over Smallville and to talk about Smallville, and definitely you have a lot more in your database. You know a lot more about the show.
Wiki.
You know all the actors' names and everything. I only know the core base actors, you know.
It was a good, 10. I mean, even now, dude, I'll go back and watch it and just be hooked. But yeah, it was a good, 10 years straight. As long as Smallville was on the air, I was watching it every week. Every Thursday. And then every Friday.
2001, right?
And then on repeat. And then showing different people the show. So I watched a lot of Smallville, man. Some episodes I know by name. Some episode I just see a frame and I'm like, oh yeah, it's this one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, 2001, where it all started, Smallville.
That's crazy. That seems so long. That's 20 years ago.
Oh my God. Oh no.
We're getting old.
Yeah, honestly, I think I probably came into Smallville at maybe 2003. 2004.
I think it was.
So I didn't watch it at the beginning.
Season 3 or 4 that was on air that I started. Yep. You know, once I got caught up on the DVDs, I started binge watching it every Thursday night with my brother, man.
Yeah, and I had to go back and start at the beginning, and I was like, holy shit, this is so good. And at the very first episode, you get the collision between Clark and Lex, and I'm just like, oh. And it was just that first episode as a pilot episode is one of the best pilots I've ever seen for a show, for a TV show. And I remember we talked about the Superman and Lois show and their first pilot, which is really damn good.
Yeah.
But this first pilot episode of Smallville just has emotion. It has feeling. It has world building for future episodes and seasons. And it just seemed like they knew where they were going. They said, we're going to start here. And we have exponential amounts of storyline and plot points. And at the time, it was called Freak of the Week. They had new characters that would come in and be superpower, super metahuman.
They're metahumans, basically, yeah.
All infected by kryptonite, which is Clark Kent's biggest weakness.
And so it was kind of crazy on how, Clark crashes in Smallville, Kansas, and the kryptonite that followed him with his ship ended up kind of becoming a thorn in his side. Obviously, not only that it's his weakness, but in Smallville, he had to keep fighting metahumans that were evolved from the kryptonite. They're poisoned or whatever.
It's all his fault, man.
And he has to clean it up.
Yeah.
And that's just crazy. And Smallville is so much more than an origin story of Superman.
Yeah.
It is a foundation of the DC universe.
Yeah. And that's something that we were just talking about before the show. Is like, this was the starting point for a lot of things in DC that are popular now or that are current.
Way before the DCEU, bro.
Didn't nobody know about Green Arrow, bro? Justin Hartley made Green Arrow, dude. He put Green Arrow on the map, and this show put Green Arrow out there and springboarded into the Arrowverse.
I can't believe they call it the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
Should we call it like the CW verse or something?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that show holds no candlelight, no light to Smallville, man.
And we're super biased, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
But Smallville was the starting point for it all, man. It introduced so many characters. Chloe, Lana, Lex, Lionel, Pa and Ma Kent.
I gotta say, as far as I know, Chloe Sullivan is the only character that actually never existed in the comics. So she was so popular and such a good written character, they added her from the show into the comics.
Yep.
Nutty.
Allison Mack, baby.
we might get into Allison a little later, but it's just so much, dude. I mean, from the Justice League, or I believe the Justice Society.
Yeah. And they have that in the show, too.
To Dr. Fate and every villain. Every Superman villain you can think of had their day in this show.
They did their version of Bizarro, their own Doomsday. Zod was in multiple seasons, multiple iterations. Brainiac. Oh, Brainiac. They have characters from the future, the Legion coming back and forth between time.
Isn't Booster Gold in an episode?
Booster Gold? Dude, Smallville, they said, how much can we run with this? And let's go. The only person they couldn't include, two people, probably was Wonder Woman and Batman because of
they didn't have the rights,
copyright issues. But they mentioned them.
We were just talking about it, and I remember the episode where it starts off and some friends drinking at a bar, and then he's like, I gotta go. I gotta get back to Gotham. I lost my mind. I remember specifically watching that with my brother live on CW, just like, did he just mention Gotham? They talk about Central City. I believe that's where the Flash is from, right?
Yeah.
And it's too much goodness.
Live action version of the Flash, Aquaman, Green Arrow. It's
Cyborg.
Yeah, dude.
Watchtower.
Watchtower. That was something that was really cool. Their adaptation, their iteration of Watchtower was pretty dope. And they had my girl Chloe leading it.
So, I mean, if you had to choose.
Oh, it's Chloe all day, bro.
Well,
fuck Lana.
I don't know how you. There's lots of reasons to hate Lana, but not in the first few seasons.
She married Lex Luthor.
She sure did.
I'll kill Lana.
I guess she didn't like that getting super banged by Clark, huh?
Tree just shaking, creating earthquakes in Smallville.
And you know that scene when Chloe was in Metropolis and she was drinking coffee. She got jealous, bro.
Oh.
She knew exactly what was happening.
It's so sad for my girl Chloe. I was like, I always just wanted them to be together.
Absolutely.
Clark and Chloe.
Absolutely.
Chloe and Clark, baby. Fuck Lois. Fuck Lana.
And then Lois comes along
and just swoops in, man.
Erica is such an amazing Lois.
Yeah.
Her charisma is just off the scale.
She has that spunkiness.
She does.
Smallville punches him and shit.
Oh, every
She's
time
perfect.
she calls Clark Smallville, it just
Yeah.
warms my heart.
You put the Smallville in Smallville.
But what
Smallville.
what was it? What do you like better?
Okay.
The first few seasons or the last few seasons? Excuse me.
Bro, that's hard.
That's
man.
hard,
That's
man.
hard because I am a big fan. Even after Lex Luthor leaves the show, I'm a big fan of the arc of like Tess Mercer and Zod come in, and the last like 3 seasons, 8, 9, and 10, especially season 10. It's like they went back to the basics themselves, man. They said, what made Smallville so good? And they said, we're going to include that in like every episode that we put out in season 10.
They
And
had to knock it out of the park. It wasn't no Game of Thrones season 8.
No, season
No.
10 of Smallville is like everything that you want.
Yeah.
Ends the way you think it would, and your ass still hasn't seen the end, and I'm gonna kill you.
I don't want it to ever be over.
It's never over as long as you hold on to Smallville.
Well, that's true, man, and we do need to. That's something. I think we've watched the first 2-3 episodes.
Yeah, I started you on that road, and we were going for a while, and then you were just like, "No, I can't do it.
I can't do it." And I'll be honest, man. You know, Smallville makes me emotional,
Of course,
and it's hard to watch.
100%.
Because if I don't want to be emotional, damn it, I don't want to watch it.
You're gonna be emotional,
But
man.
it does, man. It really pulls the heartstrings. It hits home.
It has damn good writing.
Damn good.
Damn good character building. Just the actors themselves really own those roles, and whoever wrote
Yes.
for them is just like they bring out these performances that just at the time I don't believe was on the CW, man.
Absolutely not, and especially not in a comic book on screen, whether
Yeah.
it be film or otherwise.
This was like the OG superhero TV show, man.
You totally avoided the question, by the way.
It is definitely the earlier seasons.
Yes,
Season 1,
thank
2,
you.
and 3.
Me too, man. It's
Are fire.
It's Paul Kent, but
Oh, of course. That
Jonathan
family
Kent,
aspect.
It's the family aspect, and it's Clark trying to figure things out.
He's lost in this world, dude. And he doesn't even, in the beginning, doesn't even know that he's an alien. And he has to find out and deal with all these powers along the way. And it's just so cool because you've never seen that iteration done before. In all iterations of Superman, they always skip over that part. And then
Yes.
he's Superman.
Probably my favorite aspect, if I had to just highlight one thing on what Smallville did, was the relationship of Lex and Clark, man. Something that I never thought was a thing. You know, you have these two arch nemesis,
Yeah.
and to realize they were best friends,
It is a mind fuck in itself, dude.
and to see their journey throughout the years on how they ended up arch enemies.
Go from friend to nemesis.
Crazy. That's
Bro.
And it's so elegantly done.
It's such a long character arc, but you see the reasons why Lex ends up being who he becomes. I say a lot because of Clark. A lot because of Lionel.
Well,
But
yeah.
if Clark had told Lex his secret, riddle me this, Batman. Would he have ended up being the evil Lex Luthor, or would he have embraced Clark and said, you know what?
I can help you.
Thank you for trusting me with
Yeah.
this secret.
Yeah.
Because that I believe Lex just wanted someone to like be close with.
He had nobody, man.
It was always he was always looking for like that little brother. And he even clones his dead little brother, Julian, and
Yeah.
brings him back to life.
Crazy.
Because he has that need, man. He's always looking for that best friend.
And I'm going to be honest. We do have a lot of great performances.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think Smallville would be what it is without Michael Rosenbaum.
Dude, best on-screen Lex Luthor.
Best Lex. I don't think he'll ever be beaten, honestly, unless like you get like like I've always wanted Bryan Cranston to.
Of course,
but
yeah.
then again, that would be a whole different type of Lex. But
and you see like the different iterations. Kevin Spacey, pretty good Lex Luthor.
Kevin Spacey's a weirdo.
But he was pretty good in that movie.
Yeah, I guess.
Now fly. He had kind of that Michael Rosenbaum anger.
I think the Kevin Spacey Lex was heavily influenced by
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
that Lex, that kind of gangster, I'm rich now type of Lex. This Lex is a spoiled brat. He's
He
a manipulative.
He gets what he wants, and all the time. If it's what Lex wants, he's gonna get it.
And it definitely is. Like, he does say in those later seasons, like, you didn't trust me.
Yeah.
Like, and it pulls hatred out of him. After everything I've done for you and your family, you couldn't trust me. Your only, not only friend, but, their relationship is something special.
And we talked about it in the Christmas episode. My favorite, one of my favorite episodes of Smallville is Lexmas, and it shows the alternate universe in a way of what could be if Lex Luthor had made certain choices, and if their friendship ended up being a little bit different, he would be a totally different person.
He's a family man.
Yeah.
He's got a kid.
Chooses a different path, but then in the end, he still ends up losing Lana. He was married to Lana because he always wanted Lana.
Yeah.
And then his kid is born, but she dies. And he's like, why would you show me this? Why would you show me this future where my wife dies? And then he literally chooses a different path, which leads him down the road to become the Lex Luthor that we all know. And you'll see it if you watch the last episode.
Do you remember when it showed Lex in his all-white suit as the president?
With the glove, the black glove, and the rain, the blood rain.
That was amazing. But what Smallville did for DC TV shows and film has impacted it so much. And what's crazy is, I swear, man, we'll watch anything DC related, any DCEU movie or anything like that, and you're like, that actor was in Smallville.
Oh, 100%.
That actress is from Smallville. And I'm like, what? And you're like, yeah, season 2, episode 13,
Bro.
that actress is on Smallville. And I'm like, no way.
I do that a lot, man. And yeah, they a lot of them came from this show.
DC actors have all been from Smallville. Honestly, like over 50%.
They just recycle them. Yeah, they just give them different roles. Like, I think even in Man of Steel with Zack Snyder, he's not Emil Hamilton, but he plays Emil Hamilton in Smallville. But then he's a scientist in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's Emil Hamilton. But then you got the other version of Emil Hamilton right next to him. And I'm like, well, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But that happens a lot. You see a lot. I think Zack Snyder was maybe a fan of Smallville.
Oh, of course he was.
And he was like, I'm gonna pick and choose these little guys. I think the guy who calls Superman for the first time in Man of Steel, I think he's a villain in Smallville.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of the. I think he's the Iceman, or he's something. But there's just so many characters and so much Superman lore in Smallville.
A lot.
There's a lot to comb over, man. They got Kryptonian language. They've got Zor-El. They've got Jor-El. Zod.
It's all
the lost city of Kandor.
There is so much DC, not just Superman lore, but DC lore in Smallville, and it's almost too much.
Different kryptonites, different colors, and things bro.
And one thing that you always mention that you love about Smallville, you mention it about every flipping movie, but is the music.
Oh, 100%.
It just ties. It's the bow on the present, dude.
That music to that show, you go back and watch the earlier seasons, and it's very 2000s music. Very 2000s.
It is a lot of 2000s.
But
music.
at the end of every episode, where it's like a super emotional moment, they just hit this music, and it's like, oh, bro, they just do it really well. and there's a lot of like famous songs, a lot of Lifehouse in this show. I've noticed there's a lot, especially like Clark and Lana's first dance, straight up Lifehouse song.
One of the very first songs I ever put on my very first iPod was Remy Zero.
Remy Zero.
Somebody save me, man.
Iconic. It's classic. It's probably, to me, one of the best TV show entrance songs. When that hits, you automatically know it's Smallville.
And being able to see Clark use all his superpowers. And one thing that was interesting, what Smallville highlights is his heat vision.
Awesome.
In Smallville, he has to be sexually aroused.
Oh, no.
So when he's sexually aroused, the heat, it just like builds up.
I think the episode is called Heat, where he first uses his heat vision.
And they're in sex ed class.
Sex ed class, and the new sex ed teacher walks in, and she's smoking hot, and he's just like, oh, starts a fire in the class.
Worst season, I gotta say, is if there is a worst season, is season 7.
Season 7, yes.
And it's unfortunately, that's a Supergirl season.
It is, but it's also the end of Michael Rosenbaum being on the show, and I think they had, well, it was when his contract ended, and they had to push a lot in that season. But some of the best parts about that show is season 7, where Lex finally embraces who he's going to be, kills his dad, throws him off a building, and basically that classic line where he says, I am the villain of the story.
Oh.
He embraces it right then and there.
I am the villain of the story.
Lex and Clark in the Fortress of Solitude together.
I'm definitely telling God about this.
Sorry, Michael.
One of the cool things about Michael Rosenbaum
He's awesome.
is that you told me that on the set he has massive anxiety.
Yeah, dude. If you go back, and he has his own show, his own podcast, and I really learned a lot about the actor, the man himself, behind the scenes, that he struggles with anxiety. He wants to be so perfect. When he's reading his lines, he says them over and over and over. And it's almost like a performance anxiety, right? He's like, I have to be on all the time. I have to entertain. And I was like, well, that's classic, like, comedian, actor, like, vibes. Like, he wants everyone to love you so much that you're trying so hard, but it takes a toll on the body, the mind. And I just learned a lot from his
and
his
it's
show.
crazy because when he is on screen in Smallville, he just bull by the horn, dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say he's always the best actor in the room.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Lionel, he's pretty. Damn good
Him and
actor.
Lionel on screen together.
He and it's just like the characters themselves, because Lionel, like, makes Lex so small because how big Lionel
Lionel's ego is.
And it's so many good, just when Lionel and Lex are on screen, it's so captivating. When it's Lex and Clark, it's just so good.
Dude, they have so many classic scenes together. Some of my favorite is when Clark is the bad guy. When Clark is evil Clark, red kryptonite Clark, when Lionel and Clark switch bodies, he plays like an evil villain just so well.
Yeah. And the craziest thing, when I had found out all those years later that Clark, Tom Welling, and this was interesting because it was the complete opposite of what what actors and actresses do now when they play a comic book character. Is they read and learn about the character. They read a shit ton of comics and they try to get into the mind. Like Heath Ledger. He locked himself in his trailer. We had a stack of Joker comics throughout all the years, and he just had to get in the mind of the character from the source material. One thing Tom Welling did is he said, "No, if I'm playing Clark Kent, it's going to be my Clark Kent.
Yeah,
I don't want to be influenced
by Christopher Reeves, by
the comic lore and the source material," and that's crazy.
He was definitely his own Clark, and he will forever be his own version of Clark Kent.
He will forever be Clark Kent.
Yeah, even in the multiverse, you even see him in there which is kind of crazy. They gave him, I don't know if they gave him blue kryptonite or what, but he gave up his powers apparently, and he's just like everyday person.
And one thing I love about Tom Welling's Clark Kent is he's the beefcake.
Oh yeah, he's big, man.
And I want my superheroes to be beefcakes. And we were watching Superman and Lois.
Yeah.
And it shows Clark Kent. And we looked at each other like, that's a great show. I love that show. But that rendition of Clark Kent compared to our Clark Kent, he's like 4 foot tall, maybe 90 pounds soaking wet.
I was like, bro, who is this? Like, what? It was just different, man. Yeah. And Smallville for me set the milestone, and they set the bar really high, and
well, the final season, it didn't end there. We had season 11, which is the comic book form.
Yeah. And
I've heard rumors that they might be continuing Smallville.
I think Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum, right? They want to get together and like an animated
movie.
So they want to voice the characters again.
I would be amazing,
perfect,
dude.
But you got to have some good animation, man.
Well, I mean, DC, as long as it's a DC movie, which it will be, they do amazing animated films.
But is it going to be like a CGI?
No,
or is it
sure
going to be like
just
comic book animation or like what? I'm interested.
Like all the other Superman.
I'm
DC
intrigued.
Movies.
I'm intrigued.
I mean, if it's a comic book, if it's animated, give it to me. You know what I'm saying? We got
if it's Smallville,
give it to me. We got Lex didn't come back for the Heroes or the Days of Future Past. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Wrong universe.
Multiverse. Okay.
But yeah, Clark and Erica, they came back. Lois Lane. And it's not the best, but it's awesome.
Yeah, of course. To see them on screen together one last time was pretty cool.
I just didn't like the fact that our Clark gave up his powers.
Well, but that's another thing in Smallville is he always wanted to be normal.
He chose.
That was always his thing. He
family.
Wished he could be normal.
He chose his daughters.
Yeah.
And his wife over being Superman.
Because he knows if he's Superman, he's immortal. He's gonna outlive. And that's something that they showed in Smallville is his worst nightmare. His future is endless, and it's just a circle of gravestones all around him.
One of my favorite adaptations of Superman was when his Kingdom Come, where Lois is dead, his mom, his dad, all gone, and he's living in this giant facility. It's kind of like Kong and Godzilla vs.
It's like
Kong.
a hologram.
It's a hologram of the Kent farm, and he does not want to leave it. He knows it's fake.
Yeah. But he'd rather live
in that moment, in that time where that was the only time he was happy.
Yeah.
And Superman, man, once you start realizing that about everyone's just like, oh, Superman, it's like, no, dude, you understand who Superman is.
And Smallville puts the emotion behind all of that, dude.
All of that.
Yeah. Mom can't, Pa can't, Jonathan
talk a little bit
Martha.
about Jonathan, man.
Jonathan, especially his death scene where he dies and he's dying in Clark's arms, and he's having his heart attack because he chose to protect Clark's secret.
Yeah.
Dude, it's just such an emotional part, and Clark has to bury his father.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, it's everything that he learned up to that point on how to be a man because he couldn't rely on Jor-El. Jor-El was like an enemy to Clark, our version of Clark, and his dad was Jonathan.
Yeah.
Taught him everything. And that even continues up until the very last episode. He visits Jonathan's gravestone.
Don't tell me.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. You gotta watch it, dude.
and Martha Kent, I remember that episode when it showed the cape, the red cape.
Dude!
Oh, my goodness.
His mom made it for him, too.
Yes, dude.
Yeah, dude.
And it's so much, and, I'm so happy we sat down and talked about it. And
Smallville, brother.
Smallville will always live on because we will always hold on to Smallville.
Oh, it's always in our hearts, man.
Yeah, and season 10, I got to do it, man.
We will
sit down and
we will.
I'm only gonna watch it with you
together.
And now, thanks to you, one of my annual Christmas things was last Christmas and will be every Christmas is Lexmas.
Oh Smallville, you gotta enjoy Lexmas.
It's a short episode, and that's always going to be something I play during Christmas time. And I think there's there's so much in Smallville to unpack. I mean, Justice Society, Justice League, walking away from explosions,
Watchtower, everything. This show has it all, and I can't wait to share with you some more of my favorite episodes.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk
in
about
the future
it in the Watchtower,
yeah.
And we're gonna be going over every single episode.
No, I can't wait, man. Here's to the future of Smallville.
Here's to the future, brother.
Well, man, that was a lot of fun as we've reflected back over 10 years, 10 seasons of Smallville. From the Kent Farm to the Fortress of Solitude, from Pa Kent to Jor-El, all roads will always lead back home to Smallville.
Man, it was a blessing for me to talk to you, to sit down and go over the origin stories of our friendship, the origin stories of our favorite fictional character, the man, the myth, the legend, Clark Kent, Superman, Kal-El.
The Red Blue Blur.
Man, and there's so much more to talk about.
I can't wait to talk more Smallville with you, Josh.
And we've said it before, but we might not be talking about Smallville in the dojo.
Where are we going to talk about it then, man?
The Watchtower.
And until next time, friends, stay nostalgic
On that eternal quest.
to get back to the basics.
And remember, in this dojo, in this Watchtower,
We always
hold on
to
Smallville.
Smallville.